Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good night, wherever you are right now. I am Ariel Carvalho. I am from Politics4Her. I will be your host today. And thank you very much, everybody who's here, everybody who has taken some time to be with us today and to discuss this subject. Thank you very much. I am from Brazil. I am from Politics4Her. I will be your host. And if you are still not aware, Rising Horizons is a program that Politics4Her has developed for the capacity building of activists in the SWANA region. So we are grasping here problems that the SWANA region faces today regarding climate change and gender. So we are making an intersection of the subjects, and it's a pleasure to receive you all. And just a minute. Okay. It's a pleasure to have you all here. And Politics4Her, for those who doesn't know us, we are an organization with political ends. We want to improve and to include girls and women from this global south on the political arena internationally. So if you are someone who is interested in gender and the intersection of gender and worldwide problems, here's your place. You can follow us. You can follow us on LinkedIn, on Instagram, what is best for you. We are also on TikTok, and I think that's it. So today we have two special guests to talk with you about the climate change issue we are approaching today. So the webinar is about climate change, gender, and war zones. So we'll be grasping the intersection between those three subjects who are very, in itself, they are very difficult to approach nowadays. So we decided to put it all together and talk about it because women and girls throughout the world, they are the most affected by climate change, by war zones, and both of them together has potential to escalate the violence and the problems of women and girls, gender-based violence, and everythh else in a very, very high level. So today we have Ruby Hajnaif, our dear mentor for Rising Horizons. Ruby, she's a climate justice advocate. She's currently a PhD candidate and researcher at Cambridge University. She focuses on climate change, migration, and gender issues, so she's an expert. And she is also from Syria. And it will be a pleasure to have you here, Ruby, with us today. I've seen your training, your mentorship, so I know you already, and I'm very glad that you accepted to be here. And the other guest we have is from Climate Sirens. Her name is Lina Issa. Lina, if I'm saying it correctly or not, please correct me or tell me I'm wrong. It's Lina Issa, right? Okay, perfect. She's an advocate for climate justice as well in the SWANA region. She is from Sudan, so Lina also has experience with war zones. And now I will open the floor for you to present yourselves and to complement the introduction. Ruby, please.
Hello, everyone. I'm really excited to be here, and I participated with Raising Her Horizon with Politics4Her. I really enjoyed it. I have been working in climate advocacy in the space for the past maybe 10 or 9 years, but this program was very special to me because I worked like very closely with young women from the SWANA region. These like young women had really different expertise. They were very passionate. So I really enjoyed being a mentor for them. And I think this concept of mentorship, we don't find it much in such spaces. Like, yeah, we find capacity building, we find artistic programs, but I think something that was missing, this mentorship, because like these girls, all of them, they're very passionate, very smart. But you know, like how, and even if you're interested in this like space, gender equality and climate issue, and even if you see your community experiencing them, but if you don't have like a mentor or someone who work in this program in different capacity, like how would you know what is the best way? So I think this mentorship was really good. Of course, they had also capacity building where they learned different skills. So I think this combination of the two was really good. So I think I will start by my personal experience about when we talk about the intersection of climate change and gender equality, and then maybe Lina could also share her experience. So I think 5 years ago, I was a consultant, or I was hired with the Red Cross Climate Center, because they had this global conference on climate, and they had an issue because they weren't receiving enough engagement from the SWANA regime. So they wanted like the national society in different area in the SWANA to participate through building their own session, and they weren't receiving any like submission from there. So they hired me to help them in that. So that was like in 2019 at the beginning, 2020 at the beginning of COVID. And what I decided to do is to set meeting with different national societies in North Africa, in Syria, Palestine, Egypt, and all of these countries. And something that like the national society kept telling me is that, you know, they're going through a lot, like, economically, socially, conflict, and they said like, you know, now is not the priority climate, or like you know, we don't work on that, even when they had actually program in that, but no one saw it as a priority. And I think I understandably understand why, because like different country in that area was going through a lot economically, socially, and politically, as I mentioned. And I think it's not really their fault. I think the space of the climate change at that time was very like colonized by a Western mindset to advocacy, or for people who were powerful. So it did not appeal to spaces and countries and community that were like facing a lot socially, economically. But I think now, like this now, like after 5 years, I see like more and more like people realizing the intersection between climate change and like migration, conflict, climate change, and they see both how climate change contribute to conflict and contribute to gender equality, and how gender inequality as well as conflict actually contribute to climate change. And I think, sharing from my own experience, like when we talk about Syria, for example, everyone know that like the conflict in Syria, but not many people know like how climate change has actually contributed to the conflict. And there's many studies, of course it's not the only reason, but there's many studies that argue that before the revolution and the war in Syria, actually many farmers have lost their livelihood because of climate change. But of course there's other political issue that contributed to that. So I think now people are more and more understanding the intersection. And of course, when we talk about the intersection between climate change and conflict, there's also another level, which is gender equality. Because if we like it or not, climate change impacts women in a different way, unfortunately in a worse way. And we need to realize that whether we are doing program, whether we're doing adoption program in SWANA, or in conflict area, or we're trying to implement anything related to climate change, we have to realize that like women and girls are impacted by climate change differently. I can speak more about that after Lena. I'm sure she have something to add to this. But I would ask everyone to write like 3 things they think that it's that women and girls are impacted differently by climate change. So I ask everyone to like write in the chat what you think really, like how are women and girls impacted differently, whether socially, politically, economically, and then we can speak more about that. And Lena, if you also want to share your early experience on the intersection between these 3, and then I'll come back to talk about how women and girls are impacted differently, and see what everyone wrote.
Yes, Lina, please, if you want to complement what I have said about your introduction, about you, please go ahead. The floor is yours.
Hello everyone, I'm Nina Isa. I'm Sudanese, I'm 21 years old, currently I live in Egypt. I'm an eco-feminist that works in climate justice, environment, and women empowerment. I've started my journey in climate change and empowerment since I was 17 years old. I've just started this way by initiating an initiative that's called Youth Leader, that's supporting women, girls, and also the general youth in Sudan. Because in Sudan, we have this limit of accessibility for opportunities or any another educational resources. So yes, I've started this. And after that, I've joined the UNDP office, Youth in Sudan, and also WIDIU. WIDIU is an organization that focuses on women developmental and environmental organization. It's called this. They were initiated just to let women connected with the climate and environment as well. And also now I'm part of SWANA Climate Sirens. Climate Sirens, they are seeking to empower women in SWANA region, because we know that the difficulties and challenges that actually face SWANA region in this world. And also in SWANA Climate Sirens, we are advocating for women empowerment and also empowering women and technology, economic empowerment, and also by SRHR education. So yes, if I have jumped in and said the intersection between gender, climate change, and also war zone, war zone started in April 5th, 2023, last year, where Sudan war is not a civil war. It's actually, there are a lot of countries that supporting this war, a lot of non-Arab countries and Arab countries that really supporting this war. The war in Sudan actually started by two first armies that in Sudan. They were just saying that they are seeking for democracy. We didn't see any democracy. They were pumping us, shooting us, killing us, women and girls being raped, and also a lot of children got killed. There's millions of people got displaced, thousands of people also got killed. And according to the UN records, they are saying that 800 of girls being raped. As I don't know, just the war in Sudan, it is not a civil war. We actually have to educate a lot of people about what is really going in Sudan and all the challenges, the climate change, the environment. It's really being destroyed over there, because they are a lot of regions that, a lot of countries that supporting this, countries that they are talking about a human rights. Actually, we didn't see any human rights in this work. I'm not sure if they getting the human rights words correctly. If they are harming people and killing people that called human rights, then it's a new definition of a human rights. because till now this war, it is still continues in a lot of in a lot of region in Sudan, has been also been attacked by the first army, that they are killing Sudanese people. So if I jump in about what Ruby was telling and was asking, that women are the most affected categories in Sudan, because in rural area, women are the ones responsibility for getting water, getting food, and going to agriculture actually. So so the thing that I'm telling you all is that they are the most affected category, because they are raping women, killing women. That means a lot of family got destroyed, and there are a lot of stories that been spreading on social media. Maybe it is not true about Sudan actually, and about the climate in Sudan being destroyed, and a lot of companies, buildings got destroyed. So if we just started to recognize that women are affected by this the most, by displacing, by killing, by everything that is coming up. There's no access for electricity, there's no access for water, there's no access for food. So if we just have this and talk about the climate change and really the environment that happening actually in Sudan, we realize that the environment in Sudan before the war is so much bad, and then after the war it's going to be defeated actually. As I'm saying, that women in rural area going to agriculture, going to being farmer, the uncertainty in Sudan being so bad. So we are seeing that families being really families being destroyed, because women being destroyed as well. There were in the bodies actually, and women bodies, and all of this defected that facing Sudanese and Sudan country. And yes, so this is just an introduction about war in Sudan and about me, and Ruby, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Lena, and thank you for everyone who sent. And someone have sent a question, which is, as women, what advice you can give us so we can work in climate change and raise awareness? So I will answer this question, but building on what Lena has already said, because I asked this question: how do you think like women, girls, and of course like gender diverse individuals are affected by climate change differently, especially in conflict area? Lena has really gave us like examples, unfortunately, from what's happening in Sudan, showing us like how they are impacted in different way. I will also read some answer, but also even like in spaces such as COP and like official climate spaces. I when like you always like have the small talks with other people working in this space, and like believe it or not, I have received this question many times, asking me like, what do you work on? And I always say like I work specifically on the intersection between gender inequality and climate injustice. And they always tell me like, yeah, we understand like the climate justice and whatever, but like, why do you say also gender equality? Like, you know, everyone is impacted the same. Like when a flood happened, like, you know, the flood, it's not like it attack or it's like harm women and not men. And like even in such spaces where they work in climate issues, I have received this question where like, yeah, why are you saying like gender equality and climate? Unfortunately, and you know, like they don't understand how like women are impacted, as like Lena have gave example and other wrote in the chat, and they're actually impacted like in different ways, socially, politically, and even like economically. For example, like we still have wrote, like climate change, induced water scarcity, and extreme weather events intensify women's responsibility for collecting water and fuel, which often leads to increased time spent on these tasks, reducing their opportunity for education and employment. So this is an example how, yes, like let's say there's an extreme weather event, and of course it impacts and harm everyone, but because usually women already are more vulnerable in a lot of contexts, and they are responsible for collecting water and fuel, as she said. So this make the responsibility even like bigger on them, which reduce their opportunity, whether for employment, whether for education. So you're absolutely right. We saw as well. I think Prana. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing your name correctly. I'm so sorry if I'm not. So she said like women and girls have less access to eviction resources and are at greater risk. Again, we see like even if it's a natural disaster and it harms everyone, but for example, she said women are not taught how to swim, not having financial resources and access like things like education and safety decreased during the disaster and intense climate circumstances, which is absolutely correct. And adding on that, like there's many like proven statistic research that actually show that during conflict and climate crisis or natural disaster, women face like increased gender-based violence. They also lack access to reproductive health. They also women are more like young girls are more likely to face early marriage. So we have seen this again and again. And even like I've been working for 1 year on a publication on young feminist response to the earthquake that happened to Syria and Iraq, and I have been and Turkey, and I have been working with the feminist young group in Syria since the earthquake, so almost 2 years, and until this day they're still suffering from the disaster that faced their community. Many women, because for example in Syria that have experienced conflict for the past 10 years until now, many like women have become the head of the families. But still they still face, like they're still more vulnerable to economic and social and political issues. So like two years after the disaster, women are still suffering. Many of them they did not get like back, their home were destroyed. Until this day they don't have like a permanent home. Many of them like they lost their employment opportunities. So we see also the impact of natural disaster and conflict related to climate change have a longer impact on women. So yeah, this is from my personal experience. We're currently working on, I'm currently working with like young feminist group on this publication on how they responded to the earthquake and what do they need. So I'm happy to share that when it's published. And Maria also wrote related to the question how climate change impact girls and women and gender diverse individuals differently. She also said that climate issue can act as a trigger of gender-based violence, which is the example I just mentioned, and Maria is 100% correct. They also girls are more likely to face early marriage, and they don't have as much access to resources. Reja also said women are also more at risk to face gender-based violence and sexual and reproductive health. Also, coming back to the example of the earthquake at Syria, many of the feminist group that were on the ground told us like they didn't have like pads and for women when the earthquake happened, and whenever they ask like funders or the international agency they're working for such thing, they like it took them days to actually give them like these kind of reproductive health like tools and whatever. And like many of them reported that they were told that this is not a priority. I don't know how that can be possible. Yasmin also said the loss of girl education due to climate change. They may be required to stay and look after the family or take economic responsibility more than men, as their education is viewed as less important. They are also exposed more to displacement and loss of opportunity to the climate change. I think also this summarizes how women are and girls and gender diverse individuals are impacted in a different way, and usually it's more intense. Not usually, it's always more intense. So just to go back to the question was like, as a woman, what do you advise us to like raise awareness about that and to work in this space? And my first advice would be is that you have to see what skills and what area do you already work on. So there's not, because as I said, like climate change and like gender equality really impact women's life in every aspect, whether it's economically, socially, health. So let's say, for example, you are a doctor and like, you know, you're very interested in this intersection between climate issues and gender inequality. So I think you can look more about how actually climate change impacts women's health differently, and there's many research on that. So as someone who works in the health sector, you can raise awareness on that. Even if you work, let's say, I don't know, in any aspect, whether like it's more like, I don't know, technical, more social, I think it's up to you to really use your skills to raise awareness about the intersection, about let's say you work in the health sector, about climate, gender, and health. So I think you already have a lot of expertise. Every one of us have a lot of expertise in specific topics. So my advice is to start from there. My second advice is that you have to remember that you are the most expert in your own communities. And I think coming back to what I was talking about at the beginning, about like these global conferences and how they fail to understand the intersection of climate change with other levels or other issues such as gender equality and conflict. I think because we need like grassroots communities and people who are working with the grassroots community to really like to work and like advocate for what communities need. So this is my two advice, is to see like your area of expertise and to use that to advocate and raise awareness with the intersection of gender and climate. And the second one is to really work with your communities, because like, you know, we need more policies, more initiative, more advocacies that it actually from the ground up instead the opposite, because we have seen like many policies have failed because they don't take into consideration the context, what people need. So I think starting from the ground, understanding your community need is another thing that I will advise. And maybe Lina also can add to what I have said about what do you advise like young women and women advocates who would like to work in the space of gender equality and climate change, especially in conflict area. Lina, are you still with us?
She's here. I just don't know if she's okay. She's back. You're muted, Lina. Okay, meanwhile, everybody, I have shared with you in the chat the last policy brief the Politics4Her has launched on climate change and gender. So please give it a look. It's very important information, and everybody's very much welcome to reach out to us in social media and ask for more, or if you have any doubts about it, yes, you can reach out to us. Lina, the floor is yours.
Can anyone hear me well?
Yes, now we can. Maybe you can go on, Ruby. Hi, Lina. You're muted. No, you're still muted, Lina. I'm so sorry. We can see you, but we cannot hear you.
Okay, I'm really sorry. I just lose my access to that to the meeting, but now I'm back.
It's okay. Maybe Ruby can go on with her speech, and then you can resolve.
Okay. As I've said before, that according to Ruby's, saying that women and girls bear the brunt of of responsibility for household activities such as cooking, cleaning, and child care. Climate change can make this task more difficult and time-consuming, especially in regions where access to water and energy is very limited. And especially in the rural area, because there's a lot of and women that taking the lead, as Ruby said. So the responsibilities may be much harder for them, and also women and girls are often excluded from decision-making process, especially in areas related to land use, resource management, and climate change adaptation. These can make it difficult for them to advocate for their needs and interest, and also they are often have limited access to education, because we know that education is the most important thing, and also they have limited access to economic opportunities. Climate change can use these challenges by making it difficult to attend school, earn a living, and provide for their family, and also the affected by climate-related disasters such as floods, droughts, and they are often more likely to injured and also displaced or left without access to basic needs such as shelter, food, and healthcare. And also climate change can have a negative impact on women's reproductive health and sexual and reproductive rights. And also can lead to increase the incidence of disease such as if we came to the medical parts, such as disease as such malaria, and dangerous fever and malaria, which are most likely to affect the most effect is going to be women and girls due to the weaker immune system and limited access for healthcare. So according to what I've said, that women the most category that being affected, so whether in their life and also in the medical part and also in their health, and care part as well.
Okay, I think Lena has ended her speaking. Ruby, if it's okay for you, I wanted to ask a question. And this is from my end. I wanted to know if you are aware of any successful initiatives or projects that effectively address the compounded challenges of climate change and gender inequality and in war zones. If there is anything you could tell us that had a significant impact on reality.
So I think I have two ways to answer this question. So for example, I will go back to the example of the earthquake that happened in Syria, and I will consider how the young feminist group has responded as a success, and I will then talk of more like practical initiatives that have been implemented. So I think that so there was this like, let's say, a feminist global fund agency that decided to give like a small grant. So these grants are like not more than $7,000, which is like in context in the aftermath of a natural disaster is really nothing. So they gave this very flexible funding to this young feminist group to respond. And 2 years now, like after reflecting on their impact, and I have like witnessed how they have used the money, what kind of work they have done. I consider that as a success. Like they had many like program that responded to the earthquake after the disaster. So just like providing shelter, giving like food, medicine, and whatever. So that was like how they responded after the earthquake. But then we have seen that they did not give up on the communities. For example, they realized that a lot of the women have lost, for example, their official paper IDs, which really stand in their way of doing a lot of things. They also realized that a lot of women has faced gender-based violence. So on the second stage, they started, so after like, okay, a lot of international agency responded to the earthquake, but then like after 6 months, we have seen how the funding has decreased. No one is paying attention. So but these like groups on the ground, they did not leave it, okay, we provided shelter. For example, some of them made program related to, as I said, like helping women to get official paper, other to like to help women who have and still face gender-based violence, which has gotten worse because of the earthquake, of being displaced, having no home or shelter. They other have done like economic initiative, training women in different jobs, helping them to acquire income. Other have even like started program where they like they started like collecting stories and presenting them in an artistic way to tell the stories of the women. So so maybe like if you look at it, you know, some people may say, okay, but for me, I consider that as a success because they really understood the unique needs of the women and the girls. Even we have seen some of them even working even in contexts like Syria with LGBTQ members. They recognize that even like gender diverse individuals are very sensitive to these, and no one like really like took into consideration their needs. So I consider this small initiative as a success because they really like filled a gap that no one have looked at. They understood their community needs because most of these groups are based in the ground. Some of the members have like experienced the aftermath of an earthquake. Like I remember one woman was telling me that there's this mother who have lost her husband and like male family member during the war, and she was responsible for the household of like 4 girls. And I think after 2 weeks after the earthquake, she was like still without a shelter because they were in a rural area and no one like even gave them any kind of support. So seeing these feminists, and they also responded, their response was very like grounded in feminist like values. So we see how actually they understood their community need. They filled a gap that no one have taken into consideration. So this is one example. And another example, I think like there's a lot of like capacity building that focus on this topic of or program like fellowship and training workshop that focus on like this intersection. I think like some of them succeed, others like fail, and I think one like factor of the initiative that succeed is that it's always grassroots. It always like have some kind of flexible funding, because that's very important. Because if you're like based in the US and you're telling groups in like Sudan or Syria how to respond, you really have no knowledge, no understanding. So we have seen that when there's like flexible funding, these groups have the ability to respond to the community needs. There's also one initiative, I can share it. So it focused specifically on food insecurity in conflict area. I'll share the link, and it's still like being founded. So basically what they do, and I'm currently helping them. So we're launching this initiative soon. So what we're doing is that we want to train women in aqua agriculture. So basically using very like easily locally sourced tools to grow vegetables that they can use in their everyday like cuisine for cooking, and we hope that it can serve as like economic empowerment, as well as like filling a need because of climate change, which is food insecurity. And the third thing is that it's specifically designed for women in displaced area in conflict, because we understand they don't have a lot of spaces, they don't have access to a lot of tools. So the kits that we are designing to give to these women are locally sourced. They can, even if they move from one shelter to another, they can actually like still use the tools that they have. So yeah, this is some examples. And yeah, as I said, like from my own experience working with so many initiatives, or like whether like as a participant or even like as someone who are designing them, like this is something that I have noticed. If they're not grassroots, they usually fail, or they go to waste, or they don't like fill the needs of the community. So that's why I've learned that working with the community, understanding what are their needs, what are their unique challenges before like implementing any initiative is really important.
Thank you very much, Ruby. I guess that those initiatives are really important when the institutional organizations fail, because most of the times they fail, and in war zones contexts, the institutions, they are too weak or even inexistent. So that's really amazing. Thank you for sharing with us the website. Lina, I have one question for you too. I wanted to know a little more about you act in various organizations, Climate Sirens, She Acts, and everything. So I really wanted to know if you have worked in climate solutions with gender sensitive lens. How was it with your experience, personal experience with war zones and advocating for climate change? How was to work to think about gender sensitive solutions for climate change in those areas?
Okay, yes. At first, actually working on climate change, especially in areas as SWANA region and also Africa region, maybe it's a bit difficult because we got the indigenous people that they may be not living on climate change, and maybe they're not aware of climate disaster. So the first thing, so working on this especially have much impact, but
Lina, your audio is glitching.
When I had this experience working with She Acts initiative, mainly initiated here in Egypt. In Egypt, maybe we faced the domestic violence as the most it's the most affected issue that happening here in Egypt, because a lot of girls and women being under this violence. So we are mainly doing some consultation, and we are reaching to another organization initiative to help them specifically. They can reach out to them. So working with this is actively is saving a lot of women's life and girls' life. So yes, and also in Islamic climate sirens, we are mainly advocating for women empowerment, especially in climate crisis, by putting the economic part and also the technology and innovation in this together. As I said before, that I'm working with HERizons is our organization in Sudan. It's called Women Environmental and Developmental Organization. This organization, I guess it's the only one organization in Sudan literally caring about women in climate change, because in Sudan, a lot of girls, a lot of women are just being defeated because the rights in Sudan, it's just focusing for men, boys, and in the houses as well, in our home. They prioritize men and boys before women and girls, especially in Sudan, especially maybe in Khartoum, because they're believing that maybe men and boys have this power, and so we should just taking care about them. So when with you just came out with, they were here to just to defeat the thinking about girls aren't capable to do this, women aren't capable to do this. So we just worked on several aspects with UN, and also to just advocating for women and girls in this in this environment. At first, as I've mentioned, Sudan is lack of opportunities and many education resources. So just you're going to have a maybe 4 organizations working on a specific thing, not as much as the other regions and also other countries and so. So in Sudan, we didn't even have this focal point. So I'm being really proud of when I found some Sudanese girls, Sudanese women sharing their perspective, sharing their voices around the world. Because in our country, literally, we are muted. We are muted of doing anything. So I'm just being proud that Sudanese women are capable to show and to let people hear more about perspective and also sharing their stories, success stories. So yes, I guess I'm ended of this answer. If you got any other question, please hit me.
Okay, thank you very much, Lina. We have time for one more question, like very quick, from Zara. I guess that's how it pronounced, Zara Malik. And she said in the chat, how can gender-sensitive economic policies and interventions be designed to enhance women's resilience to climate-related shocks, ensuring equitable access to resources, financial services, and decision-making processes? Lina, Ruby, you can both of you answer, or one of you. The floor is yours.
I can start by answering. So I would say thank you so much, Zahra, for this question. It's very important. I would say that there's like many approaches. So we have to have like approaches that are gender sensitive. And what does that mean? It's mean that including women and every process of like adoption process or designing like economic policies or whatever, whether they consulting them when you are like developing a new policies, whether is the you are designing a specific adoption policy. So I think involving women in every aspect of your approach is really important, starting from consulting them. And when we say about women or girls, it's not enough to say, okay, we're including like women. You have to be like, you have to use intersectionality. That means like including women from different economic background, from different social, political, and economic backgrounds. So because I see a lot of like approaches that say, yeah, we are like gender sensitive, and they like, for example, include women who are already like in power. They're not very connected to their communities. So I think I would say like very briefly involving women in every step, but also being like sensitive to other issues like women from conflict area, women from different economic backgrounds.
Thank you very much, Ruby. Lina, do you want to add anything?
Yes. Gender-sensitive economic policies and interventions that can enhance women's resilience to climate-related shocks. We can just promoting gender equality in climate-related decision-making and policies formulation. Women should be included in climate-related decision-making process at all levels. From the local communities to the national, international forums. So strengthens women's access to financial services and financial resources that can include providing access to credit, maybe saving and insurance, as well as training in financial and entrepreneurship, maybe because we're seeing a lot of women are real success in entrepreneurships and improving women's access to education and training. That what I'm keeping telling all people, that education is the resource to be in the top actually. education and training can include increasing access to climate-related education, skill training, and information on climate-smart agriculture. Maybe because I've said in my country, in the rural area, women had the lead on agriculture and on farmers as well. My grandpa, she is going had a lot, maybe far away from her house, just to go to her own land that she is doing some agriculture, and also she's planting things that, and after that she's selling it. So yes, agriculture and planting and farmers life, it's actually in a lot of region, it's both it's a resource to live and so. And also promoting gender sensitive climate change adaptation strategies. These strategies should be designed to address specific needs and variables for women, are providing access to resilient seeds, rainwater, and also macro irrigation system, supporting women in collective actions. And also every time that you support a one girl, then supporting one girl means supporting women. Supporting women means that you support a whole family. So yes.
Sorry, I just want to quickly add on that, because she gave a really good example. And when we talk about like gender sensitive economic policy and intervention, it's really very complicated and it's on different level, because the example she mentioned really showed that, because I think it's like, as I said, it's including women in every level of that, but that include like inclusive policy formation, like having a like letting women participate, gender analysis of how economic issues like impact women. It's also related to like giving women equal access to resources. It also include like financial services, capacity building related to education. It also include like including social protection mechanism. It also include like empowering women and giving them leadership. But as I said, like taking into consideration intersectional issues. It also like even include technological integration. And of course, like legal and like policy reformation, and like the last step would be like monitoring and evaluating how these gender sensitive policies are being implemented. So that's why like it's important to include women in every step of that. And as I said, like women from different like background. And just bringing it back, maybe this is a good way to conclude to the question that we received, like how women or like for women who are interested to work in the space to raise awareness. So as you see, like it's different level, whether legally, whether it's like capacity building, whether like technology integration, whether it's like social protection. So that's why like it depends on your expertise, but whatever it's your expertise, you can use that to raise awareness, to maybe like advocate for like, I don't know, social protection mechanism reform or like legal reform that's really like take into consideration the issues that we have spoken about today. So yeah, I think this is for me to conclude. I really enjoyed being today with everyone, and I look forward for more interaction with everyone.
Thank you very much, Ruby. Thank you very much, Lina. Thank you very much, everyone who was here with us today. This was a really quick talk about the subject. We have much more to discuss, I guess. And the discussion doesn't end here. We can always talk through our social media. You can reach out to Ruby, to Lina. You can know a little bit more about them in their LinkedIn profiles that I sent here. And you can also see a little bit of what we're doing about climate change, gender, and many other subjects that we grasp as well. And thank you very much. I know that it's not enough, 1 hour, but still it's nice to start the conversation about about climate change, gender, and war zones. And there's much more. Thank you very much. Stay tuned in Politics for Her to know what's the next webinar of Rising Horizons. And if you are interested in being part of one of our programs, if you're interested in being more involved in Politics for Her, you can also check our Instagram to see the opportunities. We are also launching something, so you are all very much welcome. And thank you very much, all of you, for the presence. And thank you for the questions, for the amazing audience that is participating all the time. And see you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.